And tonight, our top story, why won't the NAACP stand up for what's right and fire one of its top officials for making yet another racial remark about Republicans? Now, the group's North Carolina director, the Reverend William Barber, is now accusing conservatives of using black Americans to help their cause. Now, during a conference call on Tuesday, the Reverend said, quote, they frantically seek out people of color to become mouthpieces for their particular agenda. Now, this is the same man who attacked South Carolina Senator Tim Scott for being a, quote, ventriloquist dummy for the extreme right wing. Now, earlier today, we did ask the Reverend to come on this program and defend these comments, but he was not man enough to accept our invitation. Now, we also reached out to the NAACP national and North Carolina chapters for a comment. They both refused, and they both failed to denounce these remarks. And we contacted civil rights activists, the Reverend Al Sharpton, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and they too have yet to respond. So why is nobody holding him accountable for these disgraceful remarks, and why are these prominent officials hiding from this controversy? Here tonight with reaction, former Florida Congressman, Fox News contributor, Colonel Allen West, Democratic strategist Richard Fowler. Guys, good to see you. Let's go to the first. Let's go to the first cut, Richard. And it said a ventriloquist can always find a good dummy. It says the extreme right wing down here finds a black guy to be a senator and claims he's the first black senator since Reconstruction, and then goes to Washington D.C. and articulates the agenda of the Tea Party. Here's my question: the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Does it mean liberal colored people, only Democratic colored people, or conservatives included in this group?
Well, it means all colored people, Sean. And let's be very clear here. Now, don't get me wrong, not saying that I would make the comments that the Reverend made, but the Reverend's entitled to his opinions. And I
didn't say he's not entitled to his opinion, but there is open season and the most vile and vicious attacks on black conservatives. Do you condemn it? Shouldn't the NAACP fire this man for not one comment, but now it's two comments that have crossed a line of decency in this society? Should they be fired? Sean, I think he should be. People find other folks outrageous. People find Rush Limbaugh outrageous, and Chinos isn't trying to fire him. This is the head of the NAACP attacking a black successful
He's not
American.
the head of the NAACP. He is the executive director of the North Carolina chapter of the NAACP, and he has the right to say what he wants to say. But let's be very clear on why he said what he said.
No, I'm asking you, isn't this just abhorrent to you? Isn't this despicable to you? Have you no sense of decency? Let me play a montage of black conservatives being treated so badly in the media. This is the one group in a PC America that gets attacked day in and day out. Let's play the montage.
As I read Herman Cain's book, it's hard not to conclude that he finds himself answerable only to those Republicans who will soon start electing their nominee for the White House. And as such, he probably feels obliged to reassure them that he's no angry black man fighting for the rights of minorities.
Allen West of Florida was on Fox last night, and he called you and other African-American leaders part of the problem. I know he represents a white district, and I don't know who he's talking to. He ain't talking to the black community, I don't think.
Carson's enjoying the GOP's version of affirmative action, where black faces that can spit conservative game get raced to the front of the line, because then people get to put a bumper sticker on their cars saying, how can I be racist? I would have voted for Carson, which will fit nicely over the bumper sticker saying, how can I be racist? I would have voted for Cain, which fit nicely over the bumper sticker saying, how can I be racist? I would have voted for Allen West. Yes, any black friend will do.
Your reaction, Colonel West.
Well, first of all, I would say that if you go back and look at the fundamental principles of Booker T. Washington, he talked about education, entrepreneurship, and self-reliance. Those are conservative principles, and he founded Tuskegee Institute, which is now Tuskegee University, because he believed that education was very important for blacks to be able to take care of themselves and be successful. You know, on Tuesday at the RNC, Black Republican Trailblazer Luncheon, the director of the NAACP D.C. office, Hillary Shelton, was there, and he and I had a great conversation. We were talking about the ability of the black community to have voices on both sides of the aisle so that their issues can be really addressed and not just become irrelevant to one and taken for granted to the other. So I think that what this Reverend Barber down in North Carolina does not understand is that the black community needs to have diversification of its political capital, and it needs to have the voices, myself, Tim Scott, whomever on the Republican side as well as on the Democrat side.
And Richard, I go back to my original question. This isn't about free speech. The NAACP is supposed to be about the advancement of colored people. But yet, when Clarence, they didn't support Clarence Thomas. They didn't speak out and fire this guy for attacking Senator Tim Scott, or the times that Allen West have been attacked, or my friend Deneen Borelli's been attacked, or Colin Powell or Condi Rice, and the names that they've been called by Belafonte and others over the years. And you don't have the moral courage to say they need to pull back from these types of statements and distance themselves and probably fire this guy. And I wonder where your courage is.
No, well, I'll tell you where my courage is, and I'll tell you where the NAACP's courage is, and that courage is standing up for issues that affect black folks. Colonel Powell himself was in North Carolina just a couple months ago, and he condemned the voter ID laws that were there. Not to mention the fact that Governor McCoy, the North Carolina governor,
addressing the issue.
These are issues that affect African Americans. In America are
for the
advancement of African Americans.
Names, and the NAACP leader in North Carolina is doing it. South Carolina is doing it. You won't say anything.
But just because the leader is black, Sean, doesn't necessarily mean the leader is standing up for the African American community.
He's leading the NAACP, and that should be against their principles.
In the state of North Carolina, there's an open congressional seat that has a million folks who don't have representation.
Tim Scott was on my friend Greta's show
earlier
tonight, and here's what Tim Scott said.
Here's what concerns me about not only his comments, but those comments from folks like him. It suggests that there's some monolithic thinking in the African American community or in communities that are steeped in poverty, no matter your color. That should be challenged every time it comes out because it's just wrong. And the impact of those comments on people who are looking for a way out of poverty or looking for a way to expand their opportunities, looking to start a new company, they're told very quickly, don't be different. Don't think for yourself. Don't do things in ways that are inconsistent with your community, or you'll find yourself having been rebuked by the leaders.
All right. Colonel West, I think Reverend Barber should be fired because this is against the mission of the NAACP. Your reaction?
Well, I'm not going to tell the NAACP what they should do with Reverend Barber, but they have to understand that the consequences of allowing him to stay is a poor reflection on their organization. And you just heard from Senator Tim Scott, who is going to bring a school voucher program piece of legislation to the Senate floor. But where were the voices of the NAACP in April 2009 when President Barack Obama canceled the D.C. school voucher program for very deserving black children right here amongst where he lives in the public housing of the White House?
All right, guys.
Well, the reason for that is...
We're just out of time. I got to go. Appreciate it. Thank you. Coming